Dear future me, today I want to talk about my learnings from the book Meditations for Mortals. I've been listening to the audiobook. It's pretty amazing. This is the same author that did 4,000 Weeks, as you know. But this one is, I thought it was going to be a rehash, honestly, of 4,000 Weeks, but it turns out there are some new gems in there. And I wanted to talk through a couple today. I think a lot of these, or if not all of these, were points or conclusions that I've already come to on my own in my head, but it was super reassuring to hear an author, like a third party, come to the same conclusion and actually write it down. So I think that's why I like these books so much. Like, maybe it's confirmation bias. I mean, surely it is, but it just makes me feel like I can trust myself, and it makes me feel like I can trust my conclusions. But let me kind of start off here by talking about I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, I'm going a little out of order, I have a list over here. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was the fact that, like, you don't need to, like, put this rigid schedule on yourself to get things done. You don't have to, like, force yourself every day, even when you don't feel like it. Like, I think this is something now that I've brought up for the third time on this channel, but it's just, I never vibed with that. Like, maybe it works for some people, sure. I can't think of, like, every life circumstance to where that will be applicable to, but I gotta say, for my life circumstance right now, it just doesn't vibe, you know? Because I think I'm in a place now where, like, my default or, like, autopilot mindset will lead me down the right path. I've affirmed that for myself. Like, I don't need to be this cruel taskmaster, like, do your thing every day. You know, you gotta be super perfect every day. That's, like, unreasonable. It's unreasonable, basically. But anyways, I think kind of talking through the actual points that he makes. Let's see here. So I think what the biggest like insight that I got from this was the reason why I think, and the reason why the author states that this mindset doesn't work, where you tell yourself you got to do it every day, even if you don't feel like it. And I think this resonates with me. The reason he said that doesn't work is because when you're doing that, you open the door to be mean and cruel to yourself. Because if you stray away from that, like, perfect expectation of doing it every day, like, if you miss a day, your head's gonna be like, oh, you fucking idiot, like, you messed up, like, you're so good for nothing, like, you idiot, like, you messed up, you missed a day, how could you? But that's fucking selfish, bro. That's selfish, and that's unreasonable. Because, like, what if my fucking friend gets sick and goes to the hospital, and I need to go to the hospital? You know, I'm not saying that happened to me, but it's like, you need to build your life in such a way where you're durable no matter what the circumstance. And look, I'm saying that right now. I need to, like, practice what I preach because I don't always follow this exactly. But I'm taking an extreme example to make the point here. Like, a lighter example, a more realistic example. My friend invites me last minute to go watch a movie or something. Like, I'm not gonna fucking be like, oh, sorry, bro, I gotta do my Japanese flashcards for the next hour and a half. I gotta miss the movie. Like, that's fucking unreasonable. Like, no. Or, oh my god, I gotta film my YouTube video. No, that's fucking unreasonable, bro. Like, you gotta build your life in a way that's flexible. And to what's important to you, flexible to what's important to you, right? Some people, what's important to them is, like, their health or whatever, or, you know, making money, or, like, getting their studies done. That's the point, though. Like, I think it comes from within. Like, first of all, I got to think about what are my goals and why are they my goals and what are my priorities. And I feel like a lot of the times when we set these goals, like, oh, I got to, like, I don't know, I got to fucking, like, study my Japanese flashcards every day. It's like, yes, but, like, expect yourself to, like, give yourself grace to not be perfect. You're not a fucking robot. You're a human being. Human beings are imperfect. And I think that's a big message of the book. Human beings are imperfect. So you can't expect yourself to be perfect. It's actually selfish and, like, cruel to, like, expect yourself to be perfect every single day. And then anyways, and okay, here's the other key thing. As a result of being terrible to yourself and talking bad about yourself and all this stuff, you tend to avoid what you actually need to do because you're avoiding those terrible feelings. And so you scroll on your phone to distract yourself, or you play video games to distract yourself. That's the key, I think, right there, because it's so true to me. Anytime that I'm experiencing a bad feeling in the past, or, like, in the past when I did experience these bad feelings, I would just instinctively grab my phone and scroll to avoid the feeling. And I wasn't even consciously aware that I was doing that. But in hindsight, it's totally obvious now. And I can observe myself doing it because whenever something hard comes up or I'm avoiding something, I pull up any social media like TikTok, LinkedIn, or whatever. It is so true, dude. Like your brain does it unconsciously. So anyways, I think that was a huge learning or takeaway from me, which is like, yeah, I think you don't have to be perfect and like, do this thing every day for 5 minutes, whatever. It's like, that works for some people, but not for me. Okay. I think that's where I'll leave it. Hopefully, maybe this is the last time I'll talk about it, but it doesn't work for me. Okay. Like, sure, maybe it works for some people, but it doesn't work for me. Okay. At least that's not how I want to live my life. Right. Cause then I'm going to live myself like, okay, let me kind of pivot now to another point. Along with that, like doing something every day and like being consistent or whatever bullshit, like forcing yourself to do it, it like doesn't feel good. Like you're fighting this idea in your head. Like you want to do this, but then your brain tells you, oh, you got to do your lesson or whatever. It's like, why are you doing these things that like are freaking pushing you against? It's creating friction, basically, is what I'm trying to say, because that tires you out so much. Rather, why don't you formulate your goal to be in line with your desires? And look, I'm not saying like, oh my God, it's so easy to do, like, you idiot, just go do it. I'm saying like, for me, I somehow have, and again, it's a short video, or like I'm trying to condense it and I'm speaking off the cuff, so I don't have the exact answer to this and how I got to this point in my life. But I think at this point in my life, I've set myself up where my goals align with my desires, right? Like my goal to be a musician, my goal to do YouTube, my goal to, make music or whatever. These are things that my default autopilot mind will drive me towards. Meaning, now that I've broken down all the walls of speaking badly to myself, of avoiding terrible feelings, I have the energy to chase after these things, to take action on them, because it's really what I want. And when I want something, it's like, okay, the way I kind of see it now is like, oh my God, I'm thirsty, I want to go drink some water. You don't like tell yourself like, oh man, it's too hard, like you got to go grab the water from over there, and then you got to go get a glass and you got to pour it in. It's like, no, I don't do that shit anymore. What's in my mind is, I want some water. I'm going to go grab some water. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that water. That's how I feel right now with like the music thing, the YouTube thing, and these other like side whatever things I'm doing. Because in the past, it used to feel like that. Like you would try to think about, oh, all the difficulties I've had to go through to get that thing, and you would be avoiding it. And it's like, dude, why? Like, and again, I'm not saying like it's so easy to like just flip your mindset like that. But hopefully this sparks something in you. Because like for me at this moment in my life, I genuinely, I need to sit down one of these days and just think through how I've gotten to this mindset. It's an accumulation of multiple, hearing different opinions and just being kind to myself. But I think really what the root of this is when you're taking action based on your desires, this is kind of my own phrase I've coined, but I feel like you're burning clean fuel. Right? Like if you tell yourself you have this rigid schedule and it's like, oh, every day I got to study for 15 minutes or whatever, you're burning dirty fuel. Like you're going to burn out if you keep that up eventually. Like you're going to give up, or like, eventually when you succeed or whatever, you're not going to do it anymore because it's like, it was dirty fuel the whole time. Like your motivations weren't in it the whole time. Like, and I think I'm very fortunate that I've gotten to this point, but I think there's something to this where you got to align your goals with things you truly want in life. So like for me right now, what are the things I truly want in life? I want to learn Japanese. I want to do music. I want to do YouTube. I want to continue playing guitar. These are things that deeply matter to me, that I enjoy. So when I do them, they're frictionless, absolutely frictionless. Like, and look, I'm saying I'm not saying that there aren't days where I don't feel like doing it, but that's the thing. If I don't feel like doing it, I just don't do it. Because like, I know I'm going to come back to it anyways. Like, that's the key here, guys. It's like, there are these, I don't know. Like, I know I sound so privileged saying that because I've gotten it all figured out. It's hard for me to like explain it in a way step by step, because I know there are certain hard circumstances out there. Like if you say like, well, what if I'm working towards this degree and this degree is hell right now? Dude, I've been there. I've been there, and I'm not gonna lie, the way that I approached it at the time was I literally gave up everything else to do it, and it was terrible and it sucked. So I'm not saying that, this approach will work for your every situation, but that kind of ties to another thing that I've been seeing recently, which is like it's a little annoying that we have to like disclaim everything. Like there are generalizations. Like this is not no advice is one size fits all. And especially this channel, I'm not trying to be one size fits all. I'm speaking very specifically to my point in time in my life circumstance. If this resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, this is not going to be helpful for you at all. Like if you're pursuing a degree right now and you're like struggling and shit, don't listen to me. Like I don't, when I was in college, I had to like give up everything and I hated my life for a couple of years, but you know what? I got out of it. But anyways, this is not for, I recognize that this is not for everybody. This advice is not for everybody. But anyways, disclaimer aside, gosh, this one's going to be a nightmare to write timestamps for. I'm going all over the place. But anyways, yeah, I think that's a majority of what I wanted to talk through. Let me see. Let me read through my notes real quick. Cruel taskmaster. People are afraid. Life advice isn't one size fits all. Yeah, I think one last thing I just want to kind of finalize is I really appreciate that this book says, like, if advice was important enough, it's going to stick in your head. It's going to resonate. You're going to remember. You don't have to fiercely type notes. Oh, actually, this is a point I should go into. Sorry. I just remembered. So really, really helpful point to me that I recognize as well is when you make the friction super high to do something, you're likely not going to continue doing it. So for example, like he mentions like when you're reading a book or listening to an audiobook, if you're fiercely taking notes every time, you're going to cause friction and eventually you're going to listen to less and less books or read less and less books because the friction to take the notes is so high that you're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But if you just like let yourself go and be like, okay, just listen to the book, read the book without expectation, without pressure, you will do it more often and you'll take away more from it in the long run, even though you're not taking down the notes. But it's just, again, it's twofold, right? I think onefold, it's reassuring because, again, this is shit I keep saying. Remember how I said about the music thing? If the song is good enough, it'll resonate and I'll remember it, It's the same thing here. If advice is good enough, you're going to remember it. And if it resonates hard enough with you, you'll remember it. Like, it's not just going to like fly out and in. And it actually makes me more attentive to listen, which is actually better rather than taking notes. Because I feel like when you're taking notes, you're distracted. And again, I recognize this is not the advice for every situation. Like if you're learning something technical or whatever, I'm speaking again to this specific scenario where you're getting ideas. You're getting the raw materials of these productive ideas and healthy mindsets. And you're processing them in your head. And ones that apply to you will be processed and you will take it on. You will take action on it. Anyways, this is just my own mindset. And yeah, I'm actually realizing for myself now, maybe I'll take a lesson from that and not write some elaborate timestamp for my video this time because that has been a point of friction, honestly, for me. And I don't know how helpful they really are, to be honest, for myself. Maybe I'll just write down some main idea bullet points. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. But yeah, I'm taking something away now, even as I'm looking at this. But yeah, so great book. Wouldn't say it's life-changing by any means. It wasn't like a 4,000 weeks level life-changing. But this book is pretty good. Had some takeaways that I really resonated with. And it wasn't just a rehash, so that was great. Anyways, I think that's it for today. Little sporadic one. But check out my Kula t-shirt. Ooh, Kula and Pikmin. Yeah. Paid 70 freaking bucks for this t-shirt. All right. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.